Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Good morning. It's Kris here with Inspired Energy, and joining me, Hartwell. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning. Good morning, Kris. Good morning,
I'm pretty
everyone.
excited. Yeah, I'm pretty excited because we're hitting into a topic that we haven't hit on before. So it's all about cognition and what is your strongest sense. So this is taking even a deeper dive into human design. So thank you for that, Hartwell. So maybe you can start off and explain to us exactly what cognition is in human design.
Well, cognition is related to something. It's related to the variables and related to the kind of a deeper level of things. You might call it your spidey sense. It's an inbuilt. It's part of your brain. It's part of your kind of unconscious part of what works for you from the red side of your chart, the design side of your chart. It's kind of like an inbuilt sense, hardwired, you would say.
Mm-hmm.
And
kind of your way of sensing the world, like.
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe a primary channel would be one way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And it does have a very intuitive flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. There are many ways for us to think about intuition, of course, which is a big subject at Clair-i-tea. And in the work that we do as intuitive readers, tarot readers, astrologers. So there are many ways for human design to look at the idea of intuition, but cognition is definitely one of them. And each one of us has our own particular specialty.
Yeah. It seems like it correlates kind of with the Clair gifts when you talk about claircognizance, clairalience, clairgustance. So let's dive right in. Tell us about the first sense, smell.
Well, they do relate to the numbers too. So we've been exploring the different numbers, the different lines.
Right.
And everything is in sixes in human design. So we've got, we've got smell, we've got taste, we've got external vision, inner vision, feeling, and touch. So you would need to get yourself a chart for this, like Genetic Matrix has this on their basic charts. There are a couple of other ones that do that as well.
Jovian Archive has it, doesn't it? Down the side?
No.
Oh.
No, it would not. It would not appear on your basic chart. It depends on which chart service you're using. So the first one is smell. And so in this one, breathing through your nose might enhance that for you, your sense of inner knowing. You might find if you have this kind of cognition that you just naturally or intuitively or whatever say things like something smells off here, or that smells like success. Or so this is where if you tune into your sense of what something smells like, whether it's an environment or a person, or whether it smells bad or good or interesting, these are things that bring you a sense of knowingness. So a sense of knowingness arises to you through the sense of smell. If that makes sense. Yeah. And I don't have a lot of experience, Kris, talking to people about this yet.
Well, it's like something smells fishy. Like people say that all the time. Something just doesn't seem right.
Right.
So, yeah.
And that's the kind of subtlety that we're speaking of with all of these. And human design is saying, well, maybe trust that, explore that.
Yeah.
The second one is taste. So taste, implies, okay, maybe sometimes you want to have your mouth open, in order to sample the air that you're breathing. It might be important to sample food, for instance, or even have that sense of how does this taste to me, even if it's like a decision or an option. So really think about leaning into the metaphors about it and not being overly literal about it. I mean, you don't want to necessarily go around putting everything in your mouth.
Yeah. But what comes to me is that people tend to say what it is that they have, because people go, oh, that tastes like success, or,
Yes.
that tastes
Yes.
bad to me. That leaves a bad feeling in my mouth. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when people are noticing that about themselves, maybe pay attention to that and see if it correlates to your cognizant or your
Cognition.
cognition.
And I mean, this brings up a point too, is that, these things can be, once we do finally learn to validate them, they can potentially become more useful to us.
Yeah, exactly.
External vision is the third one. So this is about how things look in your environment. Are they beautiful? Do they appeal to you? When you arrange things so that they are appealing to you, it might heighten your intuition, or alternatively, you might have an intuition for arranging things in ways that, that benefit you, that make you feel better.
Yeah, I wonder if somebody with feng shui would have that. Somebody who's really into feng shui, because you would get that energetic feeling when you're moving things around, right? Or the way.
Yes. Just have that instinct for what is beautiful or what works together well harmoniously, works harmoniously together. So how you respond to the environments around you, how they look, helps you achieve a kind of a world that will work for you. So your visual cues are your guide through life. And there's something that can be trusted. Now, as we go through these things, keep in mind that if you're living a very not self life, if you're not feeling, the first step in human design is always to become familiar with your strategy and inner authority, and lean into your decision-making strategy. As you do that, things begin to clear up, and then your cognition might become even more useful to you. It's kind of like clearing the lenses, washing your glasses. So, the foundational aspect of living in alignment is strategy and authority. And then, I mean, this is a bit of a carrot. At least for me, it's a carrot. Start living as yourself, and aspects of your consciousness clear up and become more powerful.
Yeah, it's like a nuance of it, right? Like each of these becomes more subtle. So you're tuning in and having more focus, I think, as you pay attention, once you follow your strategy and authority.
Then these spidey senses become more powerful. They become more, I don't want to use the word accurate, but they become a more powerful tool in your life. So moving on, the fourth one is inner vision. Yes, inner vision. And, inner vision is interesting because it's about, maybe when you close down your visual sense, by closing your eyes, that might actually help you, if you close your eyes and pay attention to your inner vision rather than your outer vision, that might, that becomes a way for you to access the answers for yourself. Environments with dimmer lighting or minimal sounds can also help you focus inward. Getting cozy, reducing, outer stimuli might be very distracting to somebody with inner vision.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like they don't. Well, I'm speaking for me. Like if I'm trying to do anything and there's a lot of noise, it's very difficult for me. It's like, okay, just stop, like, whether it's
Yeah.
noise or, if I'm outside and the weather is like really bad, it's hard to focus. Like it doesn't matter what it is, that outer stimulus can knock you off.
Yes. And I mean, there is a linkage. There's a linkage between these cognitions and our dietary needs too.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind. So, for instance, with the smell, use that as a guide to maybe what to eat. For the taste, that's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if something is beautiful for you, it's external vision is maybe going to be more likely digestible for you.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a linkage here, with the inner vision that we're talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, being in environments where the lighting is, calmer and it's less noisy might help
Mm-hmm.
you with your digestion.
Mm-hmm.
Or, closing your eyes for a minute and asking yourself, visualizing in a sense what you would like to eat might be a way of tuning into what would be best for you to be eating. They say with inner vision that the third eye is particularly active.
Mm-hmm.
And, this one seems to be really aligned with a lot of our teachings around manifestation. This idea of encouraging daydreaming, encouraging mental rehearsal for things.
Mm-hmm.
It could very well be a key to your manifestation abilities.
Playing.
Well, playing is just good for,
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
um, So the next one, the fifth energy is feeling cognition,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I have. So we tried to be aware of, okay, I usually make a list of the people in my dossier, so to speak. It's like, so that I can calibrate and think about different people. And so I told Kris beforehand she had inner vision and I have feeling. So feeling cognition it makes me think of Star Wars and, feel the force, Luke. It
Mm-hmm.
makes me think of that. But this is about picking up subtle energy from people, from environments. When we talk about vibration, which we often do in New Age communities, this one seems to fit the 5 best.
Mm-hmm.
People with feeling cognition might be particularly empathic and compassionate. They often notice things kind of through that sort of vibrational sense that
Mm-hmm.
other people don't notice. Um, if you have this feeling of being on edge or unable to relax, or you're picking up something from around you, that might actually be something that you're picking up from the environment rather than something that's arising from within you. Also, there could be, with the feeling cognition, sensitivity to electromagnetic frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling, using the language feel in some of your kind of the way you talk might
Mm-hmm.
be, might pop up too.
Mm-hmm.
Spending time in nature can help you recalibrate, so that you kind of it's like clearing the lenses of your particular cognitive type.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea of vibes is something that seems to really relate to the 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I think of my own personal experience, some of these make sense to me. Some of them I'm going to have to test out. But I do often get a feeling for things. I don't necessarily trust it, so now I'm going to have to play with that a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. And I don't think I'm always discerning what's mine versus other people's. I tend to personalize things and think it's
Mm-hmm.
just me. So, yeah, I'm not sure what to say about that from my own experience. It does seem to resonate for me. I do get a feeling for people. Like it seems to operate quite powerfully. I think when it comes to when I'm doing counseling for people,
Mm-hmm.
I really tune into them, and I know that I'm tuning into them. when I'm not specifically serving people as a reader, I'm not as sure. I don't know that I'm as aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that's when we tend not to judge it. Like when we're using it to be of service, it has a purpose, right? Like, but when you're doing it for yourself and just in your everyday life and moving around and interacting, you don't tend to think about it as much, right? Like it's
Hmm.
like just there.
Yes, that's true. And I mean, and that means ignoring the potential benefits of it
Mm-hmm.
in in other situations rather than simply for other people.
Yeah.
The sixth one, the final one. Um, so yeah, so another comment about that, the feeling is learning to trust your body is very
Mm-hmm.
important for the feeling orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find that to be very important when I'm more in touch with myself through doing, doing exercise regularly or yoga,
Mm-hmm.
I feel way more in tune.
Yeah.
So the final one is touch.
Ah, this is
Yes.
interesting.
So picking up things through getting information through touch, like your hands touching things, um, brushing up against things, like if you just casually brush another person, or
Mm-hmm.
this can help you pick up on information. You might have people with this cognition may have the power to manipulate and move energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, think about think about all of these cognitions, not just literally, but also metaphorically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, a person with touch cognition can be very can have a very powerful, they can move other people, they can touch their feelings, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a two-way thing. You get touched and you get
Mm-hmm.
information through touch, and you end up impacting other people through touch.
It's really interesting because when you brought this one up, I got this flash and I thought about my son when he was little and
Mm,
the way things felt on his skin. And
yeah.
when he touched things, he was like, or like, oh, get it off me, get it off me. So I wonder if he has this cognition. It would be really
Yes,
interesting to,
that would be really confirming
yeah,
if you did. We
yeah,
could probably look at that later.
yeah.
Um, Playing with things and holding them helps you to tune in to things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whereas people with touch don't like minimalist environments.
Mm-hmm.
They like to have things around them. They like to have a lot of possessions, and they like to have. They might enjoy an environment that is more. Um, it has lots of fabrics in it and lots of
Mm-hmm.
things to interact with. Whereas some of the other cognition types would have preferred the minimalist
Mm-hmm.
environments.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Preparing your own food could be a very important thing for people with touch cognition, or even eating with their hands. Like some
Mm-hmm.
cultures, for instance, eat a lot with their hands, like the Indian culture.
Mm-hmm.
You pick up the chapatis and you've got your dal and the chapati. And so eating with your hands might be a real way of sort of enhancing and nourishing the way that your cognition and the way you
Yeah.
experience life.
So, what is the relationship between cognition and the way that we make decisions, like our strategy for making decisions?
Um, there is no there is no there is no connection as in one relates to another. It's just that because I think you could have any of the strategy types, any of the decision making strategies and authorities, and have any of the cognitions.
Mm-hmm.
However, um, if you are living a life that's very out of alignment because you're not following your strategy or your authority, then your ability to tap into and use your cognition better at its optimum is not going to be available to you.
Yeah.
It's going to be like you're so clouded and so out of alignment that your actually best built-in sensory system will not work properly for you. You may not even be aware of it.
You'd be cross-wired.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm speaking from experience.
yeah, it would create a lot of interference.
Yeah.
And it might make you in some ways like deaf to your true natural way of interacting with the world. So that's something to look forward to. Human design says this quite clearly. It says that until you're following your strategy and inner authority and have done that for a while, there are aspects of your natural system that work brilliantly, beautifully, in ingenious ways that will not be available to you. So the more you, in a sense, go through this process of deconditioning, the more things wake up.
Lovely. Well, we're a little over today. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off here?
I would, for those of you who have children and might be interested, on the 10th of April, we're having a tea circle for parents. And this is something that you can do in person, or I think we're planning on trying to do it, offer it online as well, right? Simultaneously, Kris?
Yes.
So if you are remote, you could tune in, but we're going to be talking and fielding questions around how human design can help you be a better parent to your children.
Yeah. And like all of this stuff, all these nuances, all of these other details, diving into your chart, Hartwell also offers counseling sessions. So not only once you get your chart read, I mean, you can go deeper and deeper with each of these things. So if this is something that you want to dive into, book a counseling session with him and dive deeper into, okay, what's my cognition? How do I use it? All of those things would be available to you. There's environments and many other things that are on that chart that are variables between all of us. So with that, we'll say goodbye, good luck, God bless, and we'll see you next Wednesday, everybody.